Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy diving into the mysteries of ancient Egypt, don't forget to follow our channel so you won't miss this video or any of our upcoming adventures. And it really helps us out if you subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. Your support means a lot. The golden secret of the Bahariya Oasis. Mummies, a legendary discovery in ancient Egypt. In the heart of Egypt's western desert, where golden sand dunes stretch endlessly and the silence is broken only by the whisper of ancient winds, lies a place that defies all archaeological logic and redefines what we thought we knew about the greatness of ancient Egypt. Bahariya Oasis, once a quiet and forgotten spot, became an archaeological marvel in 1996. That year, a humble antiquities guard, riding his donkey, stumbled upon a discovery that would change history forever. His donkey tripped over something buried in the desert floor, accidentally uncovering what turned out to be the entrance to one of the most extraordinary cemeteries of the ancient world, the legendary Valley of the Golden Mummies. But one question has puzzled archaeologists for decades. What secrets was this forgotten oasis hiding, and why were over 10,000 people buried here, with splendor that rivaled even the tombs of Egypt's most powerful pharaohs? Interestingly, this wasn't a high-tech archaeological mission. In 1996, Dr. Zahi Hawass and his Egyptian team unearthed nearly 250 mummies each, around 2,000 years old, recovered over several digging seasons. And yet, this was only the tip of the iceberg. Dr. Hawass, who would go on to become one of the world's most famous and respected archaeologists, described what he found as a true mummy festival. During the first few seasons, 4 tombs were excavated, revealing 105 mummies, many of them stunningly gilded in gold. What made this discovery so incredible wasn't just the sheer number of mummies, but their extraordinary state of preservation and the level of artistic and technical skill used in their burial. These tombs reflected a quality of craftsmanship that challenged everything we thought we knew about wealth and status in provincial Egypt. To really understand the significance of the Valley of the Golden Mummies, you have to mentally go back to Bahariya's golden era, from the 1st century BCE to the 4th century CE. Back then, Bahariya wasn't just a desert burial ground, it was a lively hub of international trade, culture, and exchange, linking Africa to the Mediterranean world. It especially flourished during the 26th dynasty and after the arrival of Alexander the Great and the Ptolemies, becoming a key economic node in the ancient world. Between the 4th century BCE and the 4th century CE, Bahariya turned into a strategic centre for exporting fine wine and agricultural goods, reaching markets as far as Rome and Constantinople. Wealthy merchants, elite families and local aristocrats made Bahariya their permanent home, amassing fortunes that were later reflected in their luxurious preparations for the afterlife. Picture a society so rich that they could afford to bury their dead in solid gold masks and funerary art rivaling the Valley of the Kings. The 105 mummies found in the initial tombs dated back to around 332 BCE. And were sorted into 4 distinct categories that revealed not just the complexity of this multicultural society, but also the remarkable technical and artistic advancement of their mortuary craftsmanship. The first category included the most impressive and expensive mummies entirely covered in gold leaf. These belonged to the wealthiest merchants, local government elites, and their families. These weren't just bodies wrapped in gold, they were true works of art, with every facial feature carefully sculpted into precious metal, creating lifelike death masks. The second group included mummies with elaborate painted masks made of papier-mâché, offering stunning visual effects at a lower cost. The third type featured brightly painted papier-mâché mummies decorated with designs that mimicked gold and jewels, showing that funerary luxury wasn't limited to the ultra-rich. Finally, the 4th category included simpler mummies wrapped in fine linen without any elaborate masks. These represented the more modest social classes, yet they still received dignified and respectful burials in line with the customs of the time. The story behind this incredible discovery is almost as fascinating as the find itself. Back in 1996, a guard at the temple of Alexander the Great was riding his donkey along a dusty path near Bahariya when suddenly The animal's leg sank into some soft sand and tripped, revealing a hole that led to a vast underground burial complex. It was so massive that, even after decades of systematic excavation, the full extent still hasn't been mapped. It was Antiquities Inspector Ashri Shaker who immediately alerted Dr. Hawass with the excited words, "We've found amazing mummies." Although the world first heard about the discovery in 1999, when international media picked up the story, the actual breakthrough happened 3 years earlier. That moment of chance launched one of the most important and systematic archaeological digs of the late 20th century, one that didn't just reveal beautifully preserved individuals but offered an entire window into the daily life, funerary practices and religious beliefs of a thriving Greco-Roman society buried beneath the sands for over 2,000 years. Team, the scale of this ancient cemetery honestly defies the imagination. Archaeologists estimate that as many as 10,000 mummies may be buried here, making it one of the largest organized burial sites of the ancient world. To grasp the significance of that number, just imagine a massive underground cemetery stretching over several square kilometers, where every tomb tells the story of a family prepared in meticulous detail for eternal life, sometimes with more wealth and care than even the royal tombs of the classic pharaonic age. This wasn't just a cemetery by any ancient standard, it was a true underground city for the dead, planned and laid out with sophisticated urban design, executed over generations with precision, technical expertise and artistic brilliance. It reflected a society that was highly organized, economically powerful, and culturally advanced, with its own unique interpretation of what the afterlife should look like. The timeline and historical context of the Valley of the Golden Mummies takes us back to one of the most vibrant and culturally dynamic eras in Egyptian history. Most of the mummies date from the Greco-Roman period between the 4th century BCE and the 4th century CE, when Bahariya became a strategic export center for wine and other products, shipping them to the Nile Valley and across the Mediterranean world. During this 800-year golden age, Bahariya gradually transformed into a cultural crossroads where ancient Egyptian traditions, refined over millennia, blended seamlessly with Greek artistic and philosophical influences, and later with Roman administrative and technical innovations. After Egypt became part of the Roman Empire, the cultural integration that followed wasn't shallow or forced. It was, a gradual and organic process that led to the creation of a completely unique artistic style. This blend was especially visible in the advanced mummification techniques and the extraordinary funerary art found in the Bahariya mummies. Local craftsmen, who had been honing their skills over generations, developed innovative techniques that combined traditional Egyptian methods refined over thousands of years with imported materials, specialized tools, and Greco-Roman decorative styles. The result? Multicultural masterpieces that stand out as one of a kind in the ancient world. The mummification process in Bahariya was itself a major innovation. It didn't stick strictly to the classic methods used in pharaonic times. Skilled embalmers in Bahariya, often working in family-run workshops that passed down knowledge from one generation to the next, created carefully adapted techniques. These took into account not just available local resources and imported materials, but also the growing influence of Greco-Roman tastes and aesthetics among their wealthy clients. The wealthiest and most prestigious families wrapped their dead in 15 to 20 layers of fine imported linen. These wrappings were infused with expensive aromatic resins from far-off places like Somalia and Arabia, along with rare plant-based oils and fragrant balms. These weren't just for preserving the body, they also gave off long-lasting scents tied to religious ideas of purification and spiritual readiness for the afterlife. The faces of the mummies were covered with hand-hammered solid gold masks, not just to preserve and protect the facial features, but to artistically reflect idealized beauty standards of the time, blending lifelike portraiture with divine perfection. The bodies were then placed in elaborately carved coffins, often made from imported cedar wood or local sycamore. These coffins were decorated with a fusion of traditional Egyptian hieroglyphic funerary texts and Greco-Roman art and religious symbols. The result was a harmonious cultural blend that has no parallel in the known ancient world. The underground layout and funerary architecture of the Valley of the Golden Mummies reveal a level of technical and conceptual advancement that challenges previous assumptions about the organizational capabilities of provincial Egyptian communities during the Greco-Roman period. This wasn't just a burial ground. It was really a well-planned necropolis, showing different architectural styles and social classes that reflect the complex social and economic life of the time. Tombs were laid out in geometric and symbolic patterns that clearly displayed social hierarchies. The wealthiest families were buried in large central chambers, beautifully decorated with the best materials. Meanwhile, more modest families were systematically buried toward the outer areas, still respectfully, but in simpler tombs. Each family tomb was like a miniature architectural complex, with multiple rooms for different ritual functions, decorative niches for specific funerary items, and cleverly designed ventilation systems that allowed for continued visits and maintenance. The limestone walls were lavishly painted with scenes of the afterlife, creatively combining imagery from the Egyptian Book of the Dead with Greco-Roman mythological figures and spiritual ideas, crafting entirely new visual stories of the soul's journey to eternity. The funerary items found alongside the mummies form an invaluable archaeological collection, revealing a rich material culture, astonishing technical skill, and vast international trade networks. Archaeologists have uncovered gold and silver amulets, fine jewellery made from imported gemstones like ruby sapphires, and emeralds from as far as India and Sri Lanka, and Roman glassware showing sophisticated craftsmanship. They also found pure silk textiles, suggesting direct trade routes reaching as far as China through the legendary Silk Road. These weren't just ritual offerings. They were physical proof of Bahariya's connection to a global trade system where luxury goods from across the known world flowed in to meet the demands of its wealthy, worldly residents. The most prosperous families in the oasis weren't just trading in local products like wine and dates, they were middlemen in the international luxury trade that powered the Mediterranean economy. They connected African producers with European and Asian markets through well-established networks that required not only large capital but also technical knowledge and long-term political stability. The exceptional preservation of Bahariya's mummies, which has allowed for scientific studies that would be impossible with lesser remains, is thanks to a rare combination of natural environmental conditions and expert local embalming practices. The dry climate of Egypt's western desert, with virtually no rainfall for centuries, combined with mineral-rich soil full of natural preservatives like natron, created nearly perfect conditions for preservation. Thanks to this, some mummies retain soft tissues, individual hair strands, eyelashes, eyebrows, and highly detailed facial features, allowing modern researchers to determine age at death, diet, diseases, treatments, and even cause of death with near-forensic accuracy. Over the past 2 decades, advanced anthropology and forensic studies have revealed astonishing details about daily life, social conditions, and health in ancient Bahariya. Chemical isotope analysis of the bones shows the people had a rich and varied diet: high-quality beef, fresh Nile fish, exotic tropical fruits, select Mediterranean grains, and imported spices. Medical imaging revealed that the population had access to advanced healthcare, including dental surgery, orthopedic treatments, and even preventative care, evidence of a highly trained medical class. Ironically, these same studies also showed health issues related to their affluent lifestyle, like diabetes, heart disease, and obesity-related conditions. In short, they had the same diseases of plenty we associate with modern developed societies. Spiritual significance beyond archaeology. The Valley of the Golden Mummies isn't just an archaeological treasure, it's one of the most complete and best preserved examples of successful religious syncretism in the ancient world. Traditional Egyptian beliefs about death and the afterlife, refined over thousands of years, were creatively merged with Greco-Roman ideas about divine judgment and the soul. Tombs contain preserved funerary texts, papyri, wall carvings, and ritual items that blend Egyptian Book of the Dead prayers with invocations to Greek and Roman gods, and hybrid prayers mentioning both pantheons. This was not a superficial or symbolic fusion. It was a deep theological reimagining of core ideas about death, divine justice, and eternal life. Everything was designed to meet the spiritual needs of a diverse and thriving multicultural society that managed to embrace other traditions while preserving its unique identity. A discovery that changed everything. The discovery of the Valley of the Golden Mummies completely transformed modern Egyptology and Mediterranean archaeology. It forced a major rethink of what we thought we knew about power, wealth, and cultural sophistication in ancient Egypt. It shattered the old assumption that only big cities like Alexandria or Memphis were cultural hubs. Bahariya, a provincial oasis, proved it could match those cities in wealth, artistic quality, and cultural refinement. This site offered entirely new models for understanding regional economies, complex social structures, and evolving religious systems in Greco-Roman Egypt. It highlighted the pivotal role of Egypt's oases in the broader political, economic, and cultural landscape of the ancient Mediterranean world. And finally, thanks to the publications, international conferences, and research projects inspired by this discovery, the Valley of the Golden Mummies has become a benchmark for funerary archaeology, introducing innovative methods for studying mummified remains and helping the world appreciate the true complexity and diversity of ancient civilizations. Well, finally, I just want to thank you all for listening and joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed the story, please consider following the channel and watching future videos. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It really helps us out, and we'd love to